Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn discussion. My name is Corey Miller, and I'm the Executive Director of the Cabbage Patch, and I'll be serving as your host for today's session. So this afternoon, we are going to be focusing on our fantastic upcoming camp season. As you know, we have just completed a very unique and challenging school year where we have served as a daytime learning academy. And so we're in transition mode now, and you'll hear more about that and what is in store. And to share those details, we have with us Miss Mayghin Levine, the Director of Programs at the Patch, and she has served here for 10 years and is a very talented leader of our programs that impact youth and their families. So without further ado, Mayghin Levine.
All right, so welcome to my chat about summer programs. Summer programs here at the Patch are always a favorite time for kids and for staff. If you go back and we have any of our alumni visiting us and we ask them, as we often do, say for our college scholars at our meetings, if we ask someone who came to the Cabbage Patch what their favorite memories of the Cabbage Patch are, 9 times out of 10, someone's going to talk about camps. They're going to talk about the morning circles that we do where we all get together and we sing and do silly and sometimes disturbing fun songs. They're going to talk about games that were played. They're going to talk about trips that were taken, experiences they had that they would not have otherwise maybe got to have. So we know that summers are very important here at the Patch. That's why when the pandemic hit last year, and we knew we were ready to get back in, we knew we had to have things open and ready and going for summer because kids need this kind of engagement. It's important. And we knew that if our kids had been locked up in their houses for months, they needed the chance to get out and just be kids again. And that's what a lot of summer is about for us. I'm going to walk you guys through kind of everything that's going on here this summer, and there's a lot. It certainly looks different than it has other years. If you've been a volunteer or if you were a Cabbage Patch kid, you kind of remember what summer looks like. Some things look a little different, but some things are still the same. So the first thing we're going to talk about, which everybody probably knows about and is familiar with, are our summer day camps. Our summer day camps are always some of our most popular activities. We sell out our camps pretty much every year. So this summer, we are doing 8 weeks of camp starting June 7th. This coming week, our staff are off on Monday for Memorial Day, and they're taking some much needed rest because during that NTI Academy, let me tell you, it was rough. Not everyone is born to be a teacher. And our staff were troopers in jumping in and helping the kids get their work done. Over 13,000 assignments, all of our kids passed, all of our kids have done great during the school year. Our staff were ready to have some fun and to get back to the way things used to be. So these camps, we're doing 8 weeks of camp, June 7th through July 30th. We're going to have 26 day camps. That's less than we usually do, but I'll tell you why here in just a bit. But for each of those camps, we're going to be able to have 12 campers each. Last summer, we had to keep it to 10 because of CDC regulations, but they've opened that up so we can get back to a normal camp size of 12 kiddos, 2 adults, and 1 teen employee. We'll also talk about those teens here in a minute. This all adds up to 1,040 hours of camp. You take those 26 camp days times 5 days times 8 hours. If anybody's up for doing their math, you get 1,040 hours of camp activities for kids. That means 3 to 4 options per week. So we have arts, we have athletics and STEM and leadership. All of the programs that we do throughout the year and we space out get crammed into one super awesome summer experience. In a given week, kids may be able to choose between doing basketball camp, young leaders camp, or hoof camp, where they get to ride horses. Another week, kids may be able to choose between volleyball, chef camp, which is going to focus this year on sustainability and gardening, or maybe they're more interested in doing STEM or robotics or engineering camps. The great thing about summer camps with us is that kids get to choose. They get to decide what they're into, and they get to take part in activities that really excite and interest them. Normally, our camps do have a cost. They're normally about $50 to $75 per week, depending on the intensity of the camp. A standard week may be $50, while a week-long travel camp to Canada is only $75. Last year, we did all of our camps for free because we were in the height of the pandemic. But this year, as we're kind of winding things down and getting a little more back to normal, we decided to try to even out prices and keep it at $25 per week per kiddo. Now, I will emphasize that that is not the full cost of the camp. So if a kid is coming to camp, $25 a week, or even the $50 or $75 a week, is not covering the cost of that camp. The average cost to run the camp per child is about $400. So if you were going to one of these camps elsewhere, say YMCA, they might be doing a day camp that is 3 days a week for 4 hours a day, and that's going to cost the kids $120 a week. Somewhere like the Louisville Central Community Center is charging $130 for a 5-day camp. We charge the kids and families $25 a week, and we will never, ever turn a kid away if they can't pay. If a parent can't cover that cost, we're going to find someone who wants to scholarship that kiddo. So we want all of our kids to have at least 1 week of an awesome camp experience. So these are the cool things we're doing, but the big question obviously is, what's the value of it? Why are we doing this? Camps are more than just play. There is a saying I love by Mr. Rogers that, some people talk about play like it's a break from learning, but for kids, play is learning. Play is the work of childhood. And we want to do that with the kiddos because play is more than just play for our kids. Play is life skills. So if they're doing basketball camp, they're learning teamwork. They're learning to follow rules and instructions. If they're doing STEM camp, they may be getting ready for a career later on in computers. They may be finding new and exciting interests. We're also teaching during these camps, we're teaching kids coping mechanisms. If you're in art camp and you're learning to draw, that's something that, a couple of weeks from now, when you're alone at home, or maybe when you're going back to school in the fall and you're super stressed, pulling out your notebook and doing some doodling and drawing can be a really great coping mechanism to help alleviate some of that stress, to help express yourself and get some of your energy and feelings out. So we're teaching the kids, we're giving the kids life-affecting experiences. I mentioned before that when we get these alumni coming back, when they say the things that mattered to them, it was camps. You're building really solid relationships with our staff members. When you have 12 kids to 3 adults, that's a pretty good ratio. You're making connection to folks. And those are connections that are going to mean the world later on. We're giving kids the ability to do things like horse riding, canoeing, biking, things that a lot of our kids growing up in urban areas don't otherwise get out to do. And these can be experiences that carry with them for the rest of their lives. An example I'll give here, one of our recent college scholar graduates, Sharonda Nix, just graduated from Berea with her bachelor's in studio art. She was first introduced to art during summer camps and fell so passionately in love with it. It was a life-affecting experience for her. That's what she decided her major would be. That's going to be her career. She wants to work in or own a gallery, all because she came here and did an art camp. And then, of course, camps are great for kids' mental and physical health. We're getting the kids outdoors. Being outdoors has been shown to release endorphins, get you important things like vitamin D that get your body moving like it ought to and give you lots of energy. So our kids, the physical health benefits of running around for a summer, getting into the water, getting outside, staying active are obvious physically, but it's also a real mental benefit to our kids, especially right now. We like to say in programs, right now, all of us are existing in trauma. I'll say this every day and I'll say it multiple times a day sometimes. We're all going through trauma right now. We've all been isolated from each other. We've all been restricted in what we can do. And just the ability for these kids who've been shut up in a house or doing NTI on their own to come into a building with other kids and with caring adults, the mental health benefits for them are just incomparable, especially this year as they've been dealing with the pandemic. Now, we do like to have fun, but it's not just summer fun. If you're used to summers with us, you know that normally we have day camps in the daytime, and then we do evening enrichment on site. We just have a drop-in program usually. We can't do a drop-in program this year because we still have to limit the number of kids who can come into the building and interact at any given time. But we did want to recreate one aspect of our normal summer, which is our educational enrichment programs. So during the summer in our education building, Miss Brandy and her staff are doing constant evening enrichment. They're doing crafts with kids. They're doing educational activities. You're doing your times tables and you're doing spelling tests. You're jumping into things like a science club or a reading club, getting into a book club. So they're doing those things on site, just drop in, but we wanted to recreate that in a more structured way this summer because we know that kids have struggled during NTI. So we're doing 6 weeks of enrichment starting June 21st. We're gonna have 30 kids a week here taking part in that educational enrichment. That adds up to 960 hours of targeted academic enrichment. We're doing this with a lot of outside partnership. In fact, if you've heard JCPS talking about their summer backpack league, that is what this program is going to be here at the Patch. So we are partnering with JCPS to provide these summer backpack experiences to kids. JCPS teachers are going to come on site 2 hours a day, work with our kids on course recovery, on improving their grades, and also on building some of the key skills that JCPS says they need to be ready to go back in person in the fall. So they're going to take part in a program called Think Like a Lawyer, which sounds really cool. And those are going to be focused on building logic skills, being able to build and to write and defend arguments. So these are all things that are going to help the kids do even better when they go back to school. So that's 2 hours a day. And then our staff get to step in and do additional educational enrichment. And all of the kids in this are still going to be able to take part in an arts rotation every day. So they're going to do some sort of arts, whether dance or music or painting or drawing. And they're also going to be getting social emotional learning with Miss Micah. So we're going to do mindfulness education every day as well. So why are we doing this? Why is it important? The biggest thing here is that we're trying to mitigate learning loss. Kids were behind. And I know right now they're talking about all kids being behind because of non-traditional instruction. And you may see some stuff saying, well, we're all in this together. We're all behind, but it's not equitable. How behind someone is often a direct correlation to what resources they have. If all of these kids have been in NTI this whole year, and you have kids whose parents say are able to afford a private tutor, who's able to come into the house, they're able to maybe partner with 1 or 2 other parents to have 3 or 4 kids with 1 teacher, basically in their home. Those kids, by design there are going to be not as far behind as a kid whose mom is working 3 jobs, maybe a single mom, 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. Mom can't be at home working with you. Maybe you don't have stable internet. Maybe you haven't had good food access. Kids in that situation are going to be farther behind than kids who have all these other advantages. So we are trying to mitigate some of this learning loss. Generally, in a summer, you have a kid, the average kid loses a month of learning during a summer when there's not a pandemic going on. Kids without the access to enrichment and tutors and academic programs like the ones we're offering can lose 3 months of learning. Now you put that in a pandemic and it multiplies. Right now, they're expecting the average kid during this pandemic has lost 3 to 4 months of education. They're 3 or 4 months behind where they ought to be. Now you take those kids in the situations I was describing where they don't have academic enrichment, maybe they couldn't afford a tutor, they were working at home on their own, they could have lost almost the entire year. It would be like they did not even step in a classroom this year. We're trying to, with these kind of programs, mitigate that learning loss. The NTI program we provided for kids was a great stopgap during the school year to keep the kids from losing even more learning, but we could only help 50 kids. That was the capacity of the building because of COVID and CDC restrictions. With this program, we're going to be able to help 30 kids a week catch up. And even a week of this sort of academic enrichment has been shown to have serious positive effects for the kids. 1 week of this kind of enrichment is equivalent to almost a month of that learning loss being mitigated. We're jumping right in with them and we're giving them the skills they need to get back to school. As I mentioned, we're also engaging kids in social emotional learning. So they're going to be doing mindfulness with Micah every day. I'll go back and say it again. We are all existing in trauma right now. Our kids are no exception. So we're going to be doing some trauma mitigation with them. We're going to be doing journaling. We're going to be doing some yoga and some stretches. We're going to be learning to do deep breathing and do anger control. We're going to be doing some check-ins for their mental health. Where are you today on this scale? So we're going to give them the kind of skills they need to know where they are emotionally and how to mitigate some of those negative emotions. We're also going to be bridging some stability gaps. So stability gaps are things like good access to internet, good safe space to be during a day when they're not home alone, positive caring adults, and access to good quality food. All of those things are going to be provided during this program. Thanks to a partnership with Dare to Care, we're going to provide breakfast, lunch, and afternoon snacks for every kid who comes to camp and who comes to the evening or the afternoon programs here. These academic enrichment programs start at noon, so kids are going to get lunch and a hearty evening snack as part of this program. So we're helping to keep kids stable while parents have to go back to work, have to get back to living lives. We're going to be able to take kids in and really offer some support for them. This also provides a really good low-risk academic environment. If a kid has been struggling because maybe they weren't able to be with us for NTI, this is where we find out. And this is where they can tell someone they're struggling without a lot of fear of there being damage. There's no grades this summer. There's no worry that you're going to be held back this summer. You can be where you are academically, and we'll meet you there and we'll help you pick it up. And the other thing to emphasize here, where I say it's a gift that keeps on giving, this sort of academic enrichment, there was a recent study that showed that one summer of academic enrichment like this, of good hands-on quality academic enrichment, actually has a demonstrable impact up to 2 years afterward. So if a kid comes to a program like this, a good high quality enrichment program, you're not just going to see benefits for them next school year, you're going to see benefits for them the school year after, even if they don't come to a program next summer. If they do, then it just compounds. But this one summer could benefit the kids for the next 2 years. Right now, JCPS is in huge plans for the next 2 to 3 years to try to mitigate the learning loss that happened during NTI. So our program is going to be a great way to help boost that and support our kids as they work to stave off the summer learning loss and to recover what was lost during NTI. We are almost there, and I know there'll be some questions, but the other thing I want to talk to you all about in terms of our summer programming is our is our summer work program. So we were realizing a couple of years ago that we were losing a lot of our teenagers once they hit about 9th or 10th grade. We started to identify a big reason for that was that they were going off and getting jobs to help support families. So we thought, why not give them a job here? We're on our 3rd year, I guess 2.5 years of doing teen employment. So we're targeting teenagers ages 13 and up for teen leadership, and then on to our teen employment program. Teen employment during the school year, they work with us up to 20 hours a week. We've had 5 of those kids working with us the entirety of NTI. In the mornings, they were doing their NTI, and in the afternoons, they were serving as tutors and supports for our younger kids. So we get to expand that this summer, and we will have 8 of our teens and 5 of our college scholars with us in a full-time 40-hour per week positions. Those teens and college scholars all together are going to be doing 520 hours of paid service for our young people. So you see here, Miss Kyrene, last year when she became, or 2 years ago when she became a teen employee, got her first debit card. She was very proud of that. Nobody looked too close. She covered all the numbers. You cannot scam her, I promise. We gave that little education piece when we took the pictures of make sure you cover everything. So the question there is, what is the value to this? Obviously, we're building key job skills for kids. They're learning to respond to a supervisor. They're learning to work together. They're learning what it is to clock in and out. They're learning about taxes. Man, let me tell you, they are not fans of taxes. Because when they count up how much money they're making per hour and how many hours they worked, and it does not add up to the number they think it will, it's a weird conversation for kiddos. We're also building relationships. Again, I'm their primary supervisor, but they also have a shift supervisor they're working with. So they're building deep connections to some of our staff members that will serve them later on when they go to school. We are extending to them our mentoring program with Coca-Cola Consolidated Incorporated. You may have noticed I have my Coke product donated by them. They brought some by yesterday for camps and for staff. So we're going to pair each of these kiddos up, each of these young people up with a mentor from Coca-Cola Consolidated Incorporated, an executive in their company who's interested in the kind of things the kids interested in when they go off to school. So they're going to gain a mentor out of this. They're also going to be mentors and role models for some of our younger kids. When our little ones see our big ones as part of camps and taking part in things, they get really excited and they start to see what's possible for them. And of course, I misspelled confidence, apologies, but we're building in confidence and empowerment for these kids. They're getting their paychecks from us. They're able to help take care of themselves and help support the family. And that builds an incredible amount of confidence and gives them a definite sense of empowerment as they move through the world. So that's all the fun stuff we're doing this summer. And hopefully by the time I'm done, you're like, this is amazing. How can I help? How do I get involved? So there are 3 really simple ways that we could see you getting involved with us this summer. The first one is to donate. As I said, we charge $25 per week per kid. The hard cost, if you take everything all in, is about $400 per week per kid. So we would invite you, if you were interested in helping us supplement the rest of that cost, to make a donation, either of your talents when we get into volunteering, of course, your treasure, or just items that we need. And we'll go in a moment to a list of items that we have that we need this summer. We invite you to volunteer. It is volunteer time again at the Patch. We have missed our volunteers. Seeing Miss Leslie's face here makes me so happy. Because we have missed our volunteers here at the Patch. We are now ready to accept volunteers again. There are a couple of things with that. You have to be able to pass a background check in order to be a volunteer. And currently we're asking that you must be able to provide proof of vaccination to be able to volunteer. Our kids, most of them are still too young to vaccinate. So we want to make sure we're protecting them and we're protecting you. So please, if you'd like to volunteer, make sure you're vaccinated. And of course, spreading the word about what we're doing. The more people who know the awesome stuff that's going on here, the more people who want to donate and volunteer. But some of the specific things we're looking at, we have some needed items and skills this summer. We are always in need of sunscreen. You'd be amazed how much sunscreen kids can go through in the summer. We are in need of healthy snacks. And we are in need of art supplies, and that can be anything. Miss Bianca, who you see in that picture down there, making the gorgeous prints of Muhammad Ali with some of the kiddos. Miss Bianca can turn absolutely anything into a project. And this can be as simple as you saving your toilet paper rolls or your paper towel rolls for us and bringing them down. It can be as big as buying us canvases and paint. We have just a constant list of art supplies that we're going through. Markers, paints, anything you can think of, we can probably make use of. As far as the skills, we are in need of some gardeners this year. We have our food garden that we've been working for many years, thanks to the hard work of Miss Leslie and Miss Judy and Miss Fish. But we're actually going to be expanding our garden footprint here at the Patch. We're putting a rain garden in at the front, both to help with some runoff and of course to serve as an environmental education space for our kiddos. And we're turning our garden beds in our courtyard into a pollinator garden to help feed the food garden the kids grow every summer. So if you're good with your hands, you're good with the soil, you have a green thumb, please consider donating your time to help us expand those garden spaces. We need sports aficionados. This summer we're doing golf, we're doing tennis, we're doing pickleball, we're doing volleyball, we're doing basketball. If you are a sports person, reach out because we need some assistant coaches and we need some folks just helping us keep a run on the kids over the summer. So you got 15 kids doing basketball camp, it gets real squirrely and we could always use another hand. And of course, artists. We want to introduce the kids to interesting art forms they may not otherwise have access to. If you sew, if you quilt, if you crochet, those are all things the kids love to do, but none of us on staff have those skills. For me personally, I don't have the patience. But if you are someone who would love to share your art with kids, by all means, reach out to us. You'll just email volunteers@cabbagepatch.org. I should put that on here, I think. The volunteers@cabbagepatch.org. That is our new email for all things volunteer related. We do have a new volunteer coordinator, Miss Chelsea. She worked with us for about a year over the pandemic, and then we were able to add her in as our volunteer coordinator. So she and Micah right now are learning together, and she or Miss Micah will reach out to you and help you coordinate for, for volunteers. So why did go back, honestly. Apologies. I didn't mean to do that. But all right. So I gave you guys a lot of information. I know we're almost out of time. I talked too much. But are there any questions about summer camps, about our academic enrichment, opportunities to donate or volunteer? Anybody? I'm a teacher. I will call on people.
You did such a good job, Mayghin.
Oh, thank you.
Well, talk some more. I mean, this is really about the camps, but talk about the educational enrichment a little bit more, Mayghin. It just seems so timely, and the need for it, and where our kids are, particularly those who went through our Patch Academy relative to maybe some of their counterparts who did.
Yeah. So I think the kids who went through our Patch Academy, obviously are going to be better off than a lot of the kids who could not have. I wish we could have done more than 50 kids with us. I wish we could have supported more than 50 because we had so many more who needed it. We weren't able to really address high schoolers much at all. We focused really on the elementary and middle schoolers because when we surveyed our parents, that was by far the biggest need, was parents needed somewhere for kids to be in the day. But for the kids who were with us from day one, some of the kids have been with us since the first day of school. The academic achievements for them, when you look at them versus their counterparts, are going to be pretty impressive. I'd say we know that each of our kids who were with us passed every subject. Most had A's and B's. We haven't seen those end of the year grades yet because just ended tomorrow, or today is the last day of school. So we won't see those academic grades yet, but parents have promised to share those with us. So we're excited to see what those look like. But our midterm grades for the kids, you were seeing most of those kids with A's and B's across the board. So these are kids who otherwise would have been home on their own working by themselves. We work with another, so we are working with our out of school time council. I'm sure Corey's mentioned that before, but we're part of a group of all out of school time folks. So it's us, YMCA, Boys and Girls Clubs, Neighborhood House. And when you talk to organizations like those who did very much the same thing we did, in fact, we trained a lot of them on how we were setting up our NTI hub and helped them to set up theirs. They were seeing similar gains. They were seeing kids gain, where other kids were losing those up to a year of learning. Some of these kids are gaining 2 or 3 school year grade levels in terms of their reading and math abilities. Unfortunately, we didn't have the capacity to test in that way, but other groups who say had someone on as part of their organization who could do that, we're seeing those kind of gains for kids. So I think what we were doing NTI wise, the kind of mitigation we were able to do for learning loss is probably going to be invaluable to our kids going forward. And we were doing some tutoring with some kids who couldn't be with us. We saw what it looked like when a kid wasn't here day by day. Some of our kids that are part of the NTI program were here. Some of them would show up 2 days a week. And you'd see that the days that they weren't here, if a parent couldn't get them here, if there was car trouble, they would come back to us 15 assignments behind. Well, hello, Miss Patrice. Actually, one of the parents of one of the kiddos who did NTI with us is on. Hello. Her kiddo was here every day faithfully. So Miss Kimani did fantastically. But yeah, we would see when the kids weren't with us what that looked like, and it was rough. They'd miss maybe 3 or 4 days and come back 20 assignments behind because there was not the ability to do it. Maybe a parent couldn't be with them. Maybe the internet wasn't working. For whatever reason, it was rough.
Mayghin, the summer camps, what are the ages that the summer camps are available for?
So we have summer camps for ages 8 through 16. Each of the camps has its own age range. I think Miss Jessie soon is going to put up a blog post for us that'll show you all the cool camps we are doing, all the individual stuff and age groups. We try to make sure every week has something for every age group. We occasionally break them out into gender-based groups. The kids, we do like sugar and spice for the younger ladies and measure of a man for the younger men, because sometimes that sort of socialization is key. So we try to make sure every week has something for everybody.
Great.
Mayghin, is there an art list, supply list available that we could pass on to our artsy people?
There can be. We've had an Amazon list, but I think the ladies you work with, the folks you work with, would probably have supplies just laying around.
Exactly.
So I can put that together this afternoon. Basically, copy some of the key stuff from our Amazon list and have a written list for you.
Super.
I know
Thanks.
our LAFTA ladies will pull through.
Exactly. Thanks.
Sure.
Okay, since we are right at time, we can have some more questions. Maybe let's go ahead and just wrap this time, and then let's continue on with any other questions for Mayghin. But thanks to everyone for attending, and just remember that we've recorded this Zoom and would love for you to share it out. It'll be on our website under stories and news if people, if you want to share it with somebody. And our next Cabbage Patch Zoom update will be on June the 18th, and the topic will be the College Scholar Program. Mayghin may be involved with that, as well as Miss Brandy. So have a great Memorial Day weekend, everybody.